Welcome back to the lesson. In our previous video, we've successfully discussed about typecasting in Python. And in this video, we're going to be discussing about getting user input, meaning how we can go ahead and ask the user of our programs for information, for inputs. And when they provide the inputs, then we collect the inputs and save it somewhere inside a variable and then use it in our programs. So let's actually go ahead and see how we can ask a user for input in Python and also save the input and use it inside of our program. Now, to get user input, first of all, you need to specify the storage in which you want to store the input after getting it from the user. So in this case, I wanted to get our user's name. I want to ask a user for his name. So let's go ahead and create a variable called name. And I'm going to go ahead and now call the input method, which is going to be the method that is going to prompt our user for input. So within our input method, we're going to be writing the prompt within either a single or double quotes. So let's go ahead and use a double quote, and our prompt, that means the message that the user is going to see will be, what is your name? Okay, let's put question mark like this. So now with this line of code, when we run our program is going to ask the user for his name with this prompt, what is your name? And the program will stop, will not continue to run until the user pass the input. And after the user pass the input, whatever he typed will be stored inside the name variable. So now after storing our username inside the name variable, now we're going to go ahead and give the instruction of exactly what to do with the name after getting the name from the user. So now we're going to come down below here and say we wanted to print a message that says hello and space, and then we're going to go ahead and use the plus, which means the concatenation operator, and then we're going to go ahead and say name. So basically what we are doing here is we get the name of the user, and then we said we wanted to print hello plus name. This plus simply joins the two string together because the user is going to enter his name, so the name will be saved inside the name variable right here, and we said hello space name. That means hello, let's say the user type in John, so that means hello John. We should have hello John. Okay, now our program is totally dynamic, so it's going to say hello, the name of the person. So let's go ahead and now run our program. Let's go ahead and say run. Well, as you can see, now our program is asking for our name. What is your name? So let me go ahead and type in my name. As I've told you that the program will not continue to execute until you pass the input. So now let me go ahead and say John. Okay, and hit enter. After you type in the name, you have to hit enter. You have to click on the enter button. So enter. As you can see, we have hello John. So friend, this is basically how we collect user input in Python. Alright, now let me go ahead and do something even more interesting. Let's actually go ahead and ask the user to enter two numbers, and then we go ahead and print out the sum of those two numbers. So let me actually go ahead and comment this line of code to prevent them from execution. You can actually comment line of code by highlighting a block of code and then holding down Control plus /. So it's going to comment everything at the same time. So we don't need this one because there's nothing in between. Okay, something like this. All right, now let's go ahead and prompt the user to enter two numbers. So let me go ahead and say num1, create a variable that will hold the first number that the user is going to be provided. So let's go ahead and say input. So our prompt should be enter the first number. Okay, something like this. And let's go ahead and say num2, the second variable, input, and our prompt should be enter the second number. Okay, something like this. I'm actually providing a space for readability purpose so that the input that the user is going to be providing will not merge with the prompt. All right, now that we got our two numbers from our users, now let's go ahead and perform the summation operation. So let's go ahead and create another variable called sum, which is going to hold our expression num1 plus num2, something like this. And now let's go ahead and print the sum of our two numbers. So let's go ahead and say print the sum of your numbers is, so let's go ahead and use the concatenation operator, is sum, like so. And now let's go ahead and cross-check everything. As you can see, we get the first number, we store it inside the num1 variable. We get the second number from the user, we store it inside the num2 variable, and then we create another variable called sum. We pass the expression num1 plus num2, and the result is going to be stored inside the sum variable. And then down below here, we said we wanted to print this message, the sum of your numbers is sum. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look. Now, first of all, our program is asking for the first number. So let's go ahead and pass the first number. Let's say 10 is our first number. The second number is, let's say 5, and then hit enter. As you can see, we have the sum of your number is 105. So 10 plus 5 is 105. Wow. I know you might be wondering, oh, well, is it that Python interpreter doesn't know math? No, that's not the case. The reason why we are getting 105 instead of 15 is because the input method right here is collecting user input as a string. So it's going to be storing our numbers 10 and 5 as a string values. And remember, a string value is a sequence of characters. It's not seen as a number. Now let me actually go ahead and show you that. Let's actually go ahead and comment this line of code first. Let's come down below here and say we wanted to print the type of num1. Okay, num1, and also the type of num2. So let's go ahead and copy this line of code, paste it down below here, copy num2, paste it right here, and now let's go ahead and run our program. Okay, num1 should be 10 and num2 should be 3, for instance. Let's go ahead and hit enter. As you can see, our type is string, so it is seeing our input value as string values. So you see, now the need to typecast to convert from one type to another arises. So thank God we are already familiar with typecasting in Python. Now we can go ahead and change the value of input from string to integer or floating point number, which can of course take a mathematical operation such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So let's go ahead and do that. Now let's go ahead and erase this. Now let's uncomment this. Okay, now let's come over here to typecast. We need to wrap our value inside one of our constructor function. So I'm going to go ahead and convert our string value, our input string value, into integer. So let's go ahead and say int, and let's go ahead and cut this, paste it right inside of our int constructor function. And same thing here, let's go ahead and cut this, call our int function, and paste it right inside of here. Now our values are integer. Now they can of course be calculated because they are now numbers, not strings. So now let's go ahead and take a look. Now let's run our program once again, and now let's go ahead and say we have the first number as 10 and the second one as 5, and now let's go ahead and hit enter. And yes, of course, I'm expecting this. An arrow can only concatenate string, not int to string. So we haven't discussed about string concatenation now, the way we can actually join string and string or string and number. But don't worry about that. We will discuss all about string concatenation in our subsequent videos. But for now, the issue is we can't use the plus operator here, but rather we can simply use a comma right here because we cannot concatenate, we cannot join string and number with the plus operator, but we can do that using the comma. So now let's go ahead and run our program once again. This is the final try, I promise you. So now let's go ahead and run our program. All right, let's go ahead and say 10 and let's say 20 and let's go. Boom. As you can see, the sum of your numbers is 30. We have now successfully created a mini calculator in Python. Yay, congratulations, you are now a Python guru. You have created your first interactive program in Python. So friend, that will be it for this video. This is actually how we can get user input, how we can prompt the user for input and then use the inputs inside of our program. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson and that everything is clear to you, and I will see you in the next one.